Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gustavo. I'm going to talk about a little bit educating customers as part of the design process. So everyone here probably have designed a network before, redesigned or troubleshoot it. So educating the customer, telling him how things works prior to anything, it's key to any successful project. So first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. My name is Gustavo Mastroianni. My Twitter handle is Guga Mastroianni. I'm Brazilian, 32 years old. I'm married and a father. I am a network engineer at Apex Technology Management, based in Redding, California, here in the US. I'm a CWNE, number 225, CWNT for most of the training that we have, CWNA, SP, DP, AP. I'm a member of the CWNE Board of Advisors, member of the Wireless LAN Association, and co-founder of the Mobility Brazil community. So let's talk about the life cycle of a wireless LAN infrastructure. Every time that you have a project in hands, Wi-Fi, you have to know how to start a project. First of all, what we do. We define the specifications, we talk to the customer, we gather all of the information. So we collect, define, identify business and technical requirements and design constraints. Then we do the design. When you're doing the design, you select the appropriate architecture for it, produce a design and document it, which is very important. Then after designing it, you deploy. You have to understand the documentation that you have done during the design phase, pre-validate, and perform the deployment tasks. After you deployed everything, you have to validate and optimize, which is the key part of the process when you deploy a wireless LAN infrastructure. The validation tests, recommendations, remediations if needed, and knowledge transfer to your customer. That's all according to the new CWDP 303 objectives. After that, what do? One of the things that I'd like to show you is what I've been through for the past 4 years working with Wi-Fi, is to show you some of my projects and some of my analogies that I did to educate the customers and get some projects troubleshooting it, or redesigning it. So let's start. My first one was a warehouse design here in the US. The current design was 1 wireless LAN controller and 48 APs. But the problem was, it was all indoor APs with internal omnidirectional antennas and deployed in a high ceiling, around 26 feet or 8 meters high. Because of that, I talked to the customer and I did some design proposal, which was have some redundancy on the wired side and 110 APs. But those 110 APs were using external antennas and directional external antennas pointing down. Because of that, the customer was asking me, why should I change all of my infrastructure and using directional antennas instead of the APs? Why can't we reuse the access points that we have? Then I did some analogies. I explained it to him how external directional antennas works and omnidirectional antennas works. I told him, hey, have you ever been in an NFL stadium or in NBA stadium or MLB stadium? You're gonna see that, you're gonna see some external antennas pointing to you. Some of them will be right on the rails, or some of them on the top. That's how they are designing for high density environments. Also, the difference of the radiation patterns between an omnidirectional antenna and a directional antenna. I told him, hey, here's how an omnidirectional antenna works. It's the radiation pattern, it's elliptical shape versus a cone shape where you aim the signal to where you want. And then, this is one that I learned in Brazil from one of the vendors' SEs, is it's just like a shower. You're pointing down. So the shower, when you take a shower, the water is coming down to your head. It's the same thing. The Wi-Fi signal will come down to you. So that's one of the analogies that I told him. The second example that I want to give you guys is an enterprise-level home Wi-Fi. That was my first project after I moved here to the US. So the current design was 2 SMBs, APs covering a house, a very large house with more than 7,500 feet square, or 700 meters square, in a 2-story house. There was a lack of coverage, capacity, and roaming. If you would go from one side to the other, you would not roam. You would stick with one AP until you disconnect and reassociate, not reassociate, but associate to the other one. What was my design proposal? 6 enterprise-level APs, 3 on each floor. Then I would, the requirements were coverage, capacity, and roaming. And the main thing was roaming. What analogies I gave to him when I was explaining how Wi-Fi works? First of all, how Wi-Fi works. Listen, and then talk. Then, another thing that I was telling him was slow cars in high-speed ways. Why? What that analogy means. The farthest away you are from the AP, the lower data rates you're gonna get, the lower your cell is gonna become lower. Then the last one, which was his main requirement, was roaming. I told him, hey, when you are driving your car and you are on the passenger seat and you are talking on the phone, on the cell phone, you are roaming from one cell tower to the other. The access point is gonna work as the same way. When you roam from one side to the other of your house, you're gonna roam seamlessly. You're not gonna lose connectivity. And that's how I got the project, and the project was deployed successfully. My third one was troubleshooting a large office that was newly deployed using Wi-Fi as a primary access. The current design, 2 WLCs and 601 APs. It was not 600, it was 601 APs. They were all running in default settings, RRN, TPC, DCA, MBR. What problems they were facing right after they deployed it and everyone was moving to the new headquarters? High RF utilization. Band select was not working properly and not as the client was expecting and it was told before. So what happened? What was the solution and the education that I gave to the customer and applied to the project, to the troubleshooting? First of all, I disabled 45% of the 2.4 gigahertz radios. That lowered the CCI and median contention. I explained it to him how CCI works and how median contention was happening on that time. Also, pushed GPO to the laptops, setting 5 gigahertz as a preferred band. To explain it to him why that would be the best idea as well, I went through the probe request and probe response, because also, when enabling band select on the wireless LAN infrastructure, having the clients doing the same thing, the likelihood of having most of the laptops associating to the 5 gigahertz band would be greater. And also disabling lower data rates, getting everything that it's not, that everything that's 802.11b out of the network. So we just removed all of the things that would slow down the network. What I explained it to him about that, you would get more efficiency, because all of the frames would be at least transmitted at 12 megabits or higher, giving more efficiency and making the wireless LAN infrastructure even better. And the last one, that was another project that I did here in the US. It was a Wi-Fi challenge at a school district in Northern California. So the current design was one AP per classroom mounted on the perimeter of the classroom. The focus was a location. It was not high density, but instead they wanted to locate their Chromebooks. And it was 5 gigahertz only, which is good because we are reusing a lot of the frequencies that we have on the 5 gigahertz band. So what were the goals that they were expecting for this project, for this Wi-Fi challenge? Performance tests on 6 different vendors. So they are looking for replace their current vendor or stick with the same one but newer and updated access points, and also do some site survey and check the RF utilization during the tests, the throughput tests, and check what's the RF utilization during those tests. What were the part of the education that I gave to them during the whole project, which was around 3 months? Wireless QoS. The customer was expecting that we could do some wireless QoS when the client was transmitting the frame over the air to the network. And I explained to him that this is only possible if there is some kind of marking coming from the client, and not because without that, the upstreams would be just the same as every frame. But the downstream, we can do that with some tools that some of the vendors provide to us. And also, perspective from different clients, from different endpoints. For them, when you do a site survey, you are using a Wi-Fi adapter that has a great sensitivity. It's different from the perspective from a Chromebook. It's different from the perspective from a smartphone. So I talked him through how things works, what's the difference, the difference between the sensitivity for one type of client and another. So after doing all of those things, this is all of my experience that I got it. And my takeaways from this presentation to you guys are: understand your customers' requirements, technical and business-wise. Listen and then talk, just like Wi-Fi. So you have to listen to them closely, understand what they are saying, and then you talk. Explain the technology first. When you know the technology, you will be able to explain how it works. Use analogies for a better understanding. That's what I did, and I got all of the projects. Confidence level. Be confident, but not arrogant. When you're confident, you know what you're saying. They're gonna say, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. But don't be arrogant, because they don't like that. Don't focus on selling the product, because if you sell the technology, the product will come. We need the product to deploy the technology. So focus on the technology, not the product. And always, always, always meet your customer requirements. That's key for every single project, every redesign, design, or troubleshooting that you have in your hands. And you guys have any questions about it? If you don't, I have a question for you guys. So, can anyone here give me, I would like to have 2, if you can. Can anyone give me an example of an analogy that you used during a pitch, or during a design, or during a troubleshooting that was successfully deployed or successfully implemented during your whole Wi-Fi career? Anyone? Please. Okay, Jason? Do we have a microphone for? No. Good. Just about, it's all about capacity, right? Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Anyone? Anyone else? We still have some time. If anyone else want to, oh, Roel? Anyone else? Jan? Yeah. All right, guys. That's it. Thank you. I hope this presentation was useful to you guys.